Bay Buccaneers have made left tackle Tristan Wirfs the highest paid offensive lineman in the NFL. 5 years, $140 million, just over 88 guaranteed. Here he is on the new deal. Congrats.
I don't really want to be anywhere else. It's pretty nice here. So I think just doing what I can to, I think both parties were happy. Tampa's a pretty good place to be.
Says a lot about us keeping our own guys from a stability standpoint. The guys that played great got rewarded greatly, and they're leaders on our team. Says a lot about the organization getting the job done. Says a lot about the team taking care of their own, especially the great ones that played. And to get him locked up like that, as much as he's done for this organization over the years, is outstanding.
Man, they've been locking everybody up, Adam. It's great to see one of the big men get paid, right, Swagoo? How did this come about, Adam?
Well, Hannah, you heard Todd Bowles talk about keeping their own players. And if we go back to the Combine, the Buccaneers laid out a plan there where in their perfect world, they would imagine keeping their key players. And what happens? They go out and they re-sign quarterback Baker Mayfield. They go out and re-sign Mike Evans. They go out and re-sign Antoine Winfield Jr. They go out and re-sign Levante David. And today, they cap off their goal that they set at the Combine by keeping Tristan Wirfs on a 5-year deal that ties him to the team through 2029 and makes him the highest paid Buccaneer in franchise history and the highest paid offensive lineman in franchise history. They have him now for the foreseeable future. He's obviously one of the best offensive linemen in the game. This was the last move that they had to make. And oh, by the way, right now, Wirfs is the highest paid player at his position. Antoine Winfield Jr. is the highest paid player at his position. So to Todd Bowles' point, they did step up and pay their own players.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to, if you're on that squad, I mean, what kind of message does that send, the way the front office has taken care of business, unlike some other teams?
Yeah, it raises your eyebrows because you know that you can be next in line. The other thing is, though, Adam knows this as well. Tampa has a long history of doing this. When you have success and you continue to be a pillar in that organization, a lot of those guys work in the community as well, but they like to keep it in-house. That's why you see this team every so often they vying to win a Super Bowl, or they go out and make a move like they did with Tom Brady, or back when I was watching this team with Booger McFarland and Warren Sapp and Derek
Brooks, Rondé
Barber. They keep those guys for a long. They retire. They jerseys hang up in the stadium. So this is another one of those things where this family has done a phenomenal job in ownership of making sure that they identify guys that are not only going to be good players, but pillars and ambassadors for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I'm telling you right now, when you watch Tristan Wirfs play football, he worth every single penny.
Wirfs is worth it?
Wirfs is worth it, bro. I'm telling you.
Why do you say that? Why do you say that?
The physicality and the run game, it's hard to find two-dimensional, man. Like, you got some guys that can pass set, and they phenomenal at keeping guys off the edge. But sometimes when you want to run left or you want to run right and you got a road grader, like he can be in the run game, that's difficult for D-linemen.
He plays really good. He plays with really good leverage, too. The wrestling background shows up for him.
Absolutely.
I think Tampa's like a sneaky good football team this year. Maybe not as, I mean, obviously,
you think they can repeat as division champs, right?
I do. I think them and Atlanta are obviously the favorites, but playoff football team last year and pushed Detroit. And obviously, Detroit had, the ending of their season. But if you look at this offensive line, the guy in the middle is probably the most important part to their offense. Graham Barton, who's their rookie center that they took out of Duke. If he's able to play at a relatively high level, this is an offensive line that is going to try to physically maul you. And then you've got two really good receivers that are proven. McMillan, right side of your screen there from Washington, I think is going to be a fantastic pro. K. Dotton at tight end, and White is a dynamic and dual threat back. I mean, if this offensive line can play at a good level, this is going to be a good football team. Now, Liam Cohen, who's now the offensive coordinator, replaces Dave Canales, head coach for the Carolina Panthers. I don't see a drop-off in performance by anybody in there. I really don't. Liam Cohen's time with Baker, he comes from a little bit of the Shanahan-McVay tree. I think it's the perfect marriage scheme and player-wise. This team could be a very, very good football team at the end of the season.
Okay. So I made a Tampa Bay video at this point, I guess a few months ago, pretty long ago, and a lot of people got very angry. A lot of Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans or Baker Mayfield fans. Now, I want to emphasize that I don't think that the Buccaneers are going to be trash, okay? I do not think that they are going to be garbage. But you can even see they have a 34% chance to make the playoffs. It's one of the lowest chances just to make the playoffs. And for good reason. I do not think the Buccaneers are as good. He's saying that they're sneaky good, but I think last season they were sneakily misleading. Okay? I think they're hanging on a lot. A lot of people have called out that a lot of people are really high on the Packers and Jordan Love because of what they did to the Cowboys. And I think it's technically a fair point. I think it's wrong, but I think it's technically a fair point. But I think a lot of people are much higher on the Buccaneers, especially because of what they did to the Eagles. And it's just what they did in that game is just not that impressive. Okay? It's just not that impressive. The Eagles were getting rocked by every team under the sun, by terrible teams. They had one of the worst finishes. Okay? They were getting beat by the Giants. Okay? The Cardinals. The Seahawks. I mean, they just could not win. They could not get anything together. They had multiple players who were retiring, who were just, running off of fumes. They had nothing left in the tank. I mean, they couldn't tackle. They had so many missed tackles that Joe Buck and Troy Aikman were just like, I don't even know what I'm watching. The whole time they were like, I've just never seen a team give up more. In all my years of doing this, I've just never seen a team give up like I've seen the Philadelphia Eagles. Like they were genuinely stunned. So that there was just nothing impressive about that. And quite frankly, Baker Mayfield, if you actually watch the film, he did not play good in that game. He's still a quarterback, so he still had some nice plays and some nice throws. But he did some stuff where you're just like, oh my God, did you get lucky? Oh my God, did you get bailed out? 3/4 of your yards are all because of missed tackles and yards after catch. Like, my God. And yet he still almost threw like a whole bunch of interceptions. So I'm just not seeing why people believe that this team is going to be able to make some noise. Again, I think they'll be a physical, tough team. But they're just not good enough to kind of get over. They're not good enough to kind of take it to that level where, like, they're going to be in the playoffs. They can win the division. Because I don't think that they're as good as the Falcons. I think from just a roster standpoint, a coordinating standpoint, as well as a quarterback. Kirk Cousins is way better of a quarterback than Baker Mayfield. Way better. No doubt in my mind. And the NFL thinks so too, because he's commanded significantly more money and is wanted and more sought out after than Baker Mayfield has ever been in his entire career outside of when he was being drafted. So I'm not seeing, so I don't see them winning the division. And if they don't win the division, then they have to be better than some of these other teams that will be fighting for wild cards, whether that's the Lions or the Packers or the Bears. Please tell me which team Tampa Bay Buccaneers are better than them, any of those teams. I don't see it. Are the Buccaneers better than the Cowboys? I don't see it. Are the Buccaneers better than the Eagles? I don't see it. Are they better than the Rams, the 49ers? I don't see it. So it just doesn't make sense to me, quite frankly. I'm not seeing who they're better than enough. And that's why you can see that they're 9th in the NFC. So, again, they're not garbage. I'm not saying that the Carolina Panthers are going to smoke them or that the New York Giants are going to smoke them. But I don't see them making the playoffs. I don't see them getting the wild card spot, especially just because there's just too many good teams in the NFL right now. If this was last year again, then you can make the argument, okay, they could be fighting for another spot. If Justin Fields was still on the Bears, if the Eagles still had their bad coordinators, if the Falcons still didn't have a quarterback, I could see it all then. Then I could understand. If you really go back in that season, you can see how they were able to find themselves into the playoffs. But outside of that, I'm just not seeing it this year. I think too many teams took too strong, too big of step forwards, and the Buccaneers did not. And again, if you're a Buccaneers fan, do not take this as me just saying that you're just hot trash and terrible and don't deserve to even wake up in the morning, because you guys take any criticism as such an indictment on you, to your core, to your identity. And again, they have a 34% chance to make the playoffs, whereas I just did a clip a moment ago where, for instance, the Detroit Lions have like an 80% chance to make it to the playoffs. Like, those are the different degrees that we're talking about here. So The best chance of the Bucs have is the wild card outside of some sort of injury to the Falcons. And if you're talking about the wild card, you have to be better than, say, the Cowboys, the Bears, the Commanders, even maybe the Eagles, depending on how those how the division unfolds. The Rams, the 49ers, depending on how that division unfolds. And I'm just not seeing it. Just not seeing it. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think the Buccaneers will make the playoffs and actually be sneaky good, like Dan Orlovsky was mentioning? It seems like he's kind of also using the game against the Detroit Lions as a reference point, which is okay, fair. I think that game looked a little bit more closer than it really was. But let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.